we will be doing a series of hearings, and we had one a few weeks ago, but we'll be doing a series of hearings in the Intel Committee on Volume 1 of the Mueller Report. And I think probably the first that we will do will focus on the counterintelligence investigation, where we'll have experts to help shed light on what is a counterintelligence investigation. What does it mean that this began as a CI investigation, not as a criminal probe?
Joining us now is Chairman Adam Schiff of the House Intelligence Committee. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
So that was you announcing that your committee is going to hold a series of hearings on Volume 1 of the Mueller Report, which focuses on what Russia did. What can you tell us about those planned hearings?
Well, it'll begin on Wednesday with a hearing with counterintelligence heads from the FBI to answer exactly those questions. What is a counterintelligence investigation? What do we know from the Mueller Report? What does it mean that there were counterintelligence agents embedded in Mueller's team? What would have happened to those findings? What does it mean that a delegation was sent from Moscow to meet with the top people of the Trump campaign in a secret meeting? What was the significance of their appeals on the Magnitsky Act? Would the Russians have not only wanted to meddle to help Trump win, but also communicated to the Trump campaign that they were helping in hopes of getting repeal of sanctions or doing away with the Magnitsky Act? Why would this be of great concern to the FBI and our intelligence agencies? So we'll be exploring and bringing to life these parts of the Mueller report, as well as the one you just mentioned, which is what do we know from this report about Russian intrusions into voting systems and voter databases? And what does that mean in terms of our ability to protect the next elections?
In terms of voting systems and voter databases, this was a very disturbing report today in the Washington Post that North Carolina officials say that they have been asking the Homeland Security Department for a year and a half to look with some technical acuity at the computers that may have been compromised by Russian malware or Russian intrusion efforts ahead of the 2016 elections. Those hard drives and those computers have reportedly been imaged so that there is the possibility of looking at them and seeing what may have happened to them. There were counties in North Carolina that had real trouble in terms of their voting polls, their voting rolls, long lines, poll books failing. Those seem to have overlapped a little bit with some of the counties that may have been targeted by this Russian effort ahead of the election to target some voting infrastructure. I'm concerned that it's taken the Department of Homeland Security a year and a half to respond to the state in terms of trying to get help on this.
I share that concern, and this is not something that happens terribly infrequently. Unfortunately, we see this kind of lack of coordination all too regularly. In the Mueller report, there's a reference, for example, that we, the Mueller team, did not look into these intrusions beyond what we're telling you in the report. We assume that the FBI did that, but that assumption may not be correct. I don't know how much of a forensic examination the FBI did. I don't know how much coordination there was between the Bureau and some of these state boards of elections or county boards of elections. And of course, you know, some counties take the view, hey, that's our business, stay out. But if you're a county in a swing state that could affect the presidential election, it's not just a county matter, it's a national matter. So we are going to look into this. And I think it's going to be very important to underscore that these investigations we're doing, not just in the Mueller report or Russia, it's not about Trump, it's not about even the Congress. It's about protecting the public from not just this president, but any president that acts in an autocratic or unethical way. It's about protecting our voting infrastructure from any adversary, not just Russia. And there's obviously a key stake in this for all the country.
In terms of the type of attack that we're talking about here in North Carolina, you raise a good point that local election officials and states that have responsibility for conducting their own elections are understandably protective about their own election infrastructure. In this case, though, what Mueller describes and what we're now finally seeing some follow-up on is that local elections officials and local election infrastructure was targeted by a foreign military intelligence operation, which puts it seemingly squarely under your oversight as chairman of House Intelligence. One of the things that you and I have talked about over the past few weeks and months is that things that ought to be under your purview, that the intelligence agencies and the FBI ought be briefing to you as chairman of the Intelligence Committee, if not to your full committee, just have been kept from you. And I guess I wonder if there's any evolution in that, in terms of you understanding what you haven't been told that you ought to have been told, and if you've been able to make any progress with getting the briefings that you think you need.
This is an area in terms of the voting infrastructure that's of deep interest to us, but also to the Homeland Security Committee, which has done some great work in looking at our vulnerabilities going forward. In terms of how many answers we've been able to get in the Intelligence Committee, we've been able to get some, and the Justice Department has started to provide us documents, and I was over reading them at the Justice Department this week, and it's an important beginning of, I hope, more fulsome providing of documents. But on those fundamental questions you're asking, and we've been asking, what happened to the counterintelligence investigation? What were the findings from that investigation? We still can't get an answer, and I have to say it's very concerning that it's so hard to get an answer to these very basic questions. And it makes you wonder, did someone really drop the ball here? Or are there findings that they don't want the Congress to have for whatever reason? Do they shed negative light on people currently serving the administration for which there may be concerns? We're also trying to find out about security clearances given to people that apparently shouldn't have gotten them. Are those some of the people for which counterintelligence concerns were raised? These questions are ones that just need to be answered. And, I think in our structure, the framers fully didn't they didn't anticipate Donald Trump per se, but they anticipated that either the country would be in a position of electing the wrong person, or that someone would be elected and they would become corrupt with power in office. And Congress needed to have the power to compel answer and hold them accountable. And that is exactly what we are doing.
Congressman Adam Schiff, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee in the House. Sir, appreciate you being here tonight. Keep us apprised.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.